Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the FAA has lifted all flight reductions from the shutdown as TSA workers who continue to serve expect bonuses. And there's been a major development in the nation's opioid crisis. We'll catch you up to date.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Welcome to Mountain News This Morning. I'm Neely Green here with you on this Wednesday, November 19th. The time is now 6 o'clock. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Desnell for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, we're halfway through the week. It's Wednesday, and I'm excited to finish out the rest of the week.
I am too, definitely excited for what is to come as we're going into the remainder of your work week. But for your Wednesday morning, a couple things you need to note. It's a little bit of a foggy start to your day. That visibility is on the lower side for many folks across Eastern Kentucky, so be prepared for dense patchy fog this morning and add a little bit of some extra drive time, especially when some of those roads are still wet from last night's rain. This morning we are still seeing a little bit of some sprinkles for Virginia counties, but it is clearing itself out as we are going into the next couple of minutes. Now, in terms of temperatures, it's not bad. We're talking 50s for most folks. Now, it is a tad chillier for our more northern counties, but even then, not bad temperatures at all in the mid 40s. Expect high temperatures to be in a range of the upper 50s to mid 60s. Neely.
Megan, thank you. An update to a traffic alert near Corbin. This will help your morning commute. Lanes are back open after a semi overturned on I-75. The Williamsburg Fire Department had to detour northbound traffic at exit 15 onto US 25 to get people around the crash. That lasted throughout the night. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet shared on social media all lanes have now reopened. A portion of files related to well-connected convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are now one signature away from being publicly released. The bill forcing the Department of Justice to release all unclassified Epstein files related to its investigation will soon head to President Trump's desk after nearly a unanimous bipartisan support in House and Senate. CBS's Jared Hill has the latest.
Once a long shot,
the bill is passed.
Now a done deal. 427 to 1, House lawmakers approved a measure to force the Department of Justice to release files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Hours later, unanimous consent to clear the Senate once the bill arrives today.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill.
We did it!
Outside the Capitol, Epstein survivors celebrated after sharing their stories.
This was me at 14 years old. I was a child.
Jenalisa Jones spoke about how she met Epstein at his home in Palm Beach.
It was my first encounter with a man, and in that manner, and it set the tone for the rest of my life.
Tuesday's vote, the culmination of months-long pressure and drama on Capitol Hill.
What do the American people want to know? They want to know who else visited Epstein's Island, who raped young girls, who abused young girls.
I want to see every single name released so that these women don't have to live in fear and intimidation.
After working to try and get some Republicans to vote against the measure, President Trump has said he would sign the Epstein documents bill. Still Tuesday, he bristled at questions.
You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax.
And called it a distraction, posting on social media he wants Republicans to focus on all of the victories since he took office. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The House bill is expected to formally move to the Senate this morning. Once it reaches, it will effectively pass automatically because of Tuesday evening's unanimous consent agreement. Once President Trump signs, the Justice Department will have 30 days to make the files public, with some exceptions for survivors' personal information and other sensitive material. President Trump has asked the Justice Department to investigate links between some high-profile Democrats and Epstein, which could potentially limit what would be released. Congressman Hal Rogers voted to release the files, saying in part, quote, "We all want to see justice for the victims of this horrific sex trafficking ring involving minors." Washington Democrats failed to release the Epstein files under the Biden administration for 4 years. "But I'm grateful that we're moving forward in a bipartisan manner," end quote. U.S. intelligence believes Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the murder of Washington Post journalist. President Trump does not. The president welcomed the Crown Prince to the White House yesterday and angrily defended him when a reporter asked about the murder.
Who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
During a black-tie dinner last night at the White House, President Trump announced the U.S. is formally designating Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally. The FAA has lifted all flight reductions that were put in place during the government shutdown. Those reductions were to combat air traffic control staffing issues, which worsened during the shutdown as controllers worked without pay. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem says TSA agents who worked throughout the shutdown will receive bonuses. She says those who continue to serve with excellence throughout the shutdown will receive a $10,000 bonus. All this comes as AAA predicts a record-breaking Thanksgiving travel season. The Trump administration has another idea to make housing more affordable, to let homeowners take their mortgage rate with them when they move. Mortgage agreements are clear contracts tied to a specific property, with the home's address listed as collateral. Transferring that loan to a new house would mean effectively rewriting the contract. One key question: will banks go along with this? Congress might have to pass new laws.
If you have someone who has an extremely low rate and the high 2s, low 3s on a home that they currently own, they may not want to move to another home because they're going to go from those low rates to current market rates, which are significantly higher. If people are upgrading their homes, how are they going to bridge that gap for the equity for the down payment?
A portable mortgage could provide more flexibility to move to a new home, but it could also free up supply for future home buyers. A major development in the nation's opioid crisis. Friday, Purdue Pharma won approval for a nearly $7.5 billion settlement in its long-running bankruptcy case. The ruling clears the way for OxyContin to dissolve after 6 years in court. Purdue Pharma filed for bankruptcy in 2019 as opioid lawsuits surged. More than 600,000 claims were ultimately filed. Under the plan, most of Purdue's assets will move to a new company called Noah Pharma. That company will continue providing treatments and medicines that could address opioid addiction. Friday's ruling marks what's expected to be the end of one of the longest and costliest corporate bankruptcies tied to the nation's opioid crisis. The Trump administration says it wants to harness the power of artificial intelligence to lighten the load for caregivers. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced the Caregiver AI Challenge. The nationwide contest will award up to $2 million in prizes for creating the next generation of AI tools to empower caregivers. That's about 63 million Americans, according to AARP.
AI can transform caregiving by delivering on-demand support, predicting health risks before they happen, monitoring well-being, and automating paperwork so that caregivers can focus on what matters most, the care and compassion of the people whom they seek to help.
Secretary Kennedy noted many caregivers often sacrifice their own well-being at the expense of helping others. He also expressed gratitude to the unsung heroes who looked after his late mother and other relatives when they could no longer care for themselves.
Anytime after lunchtime is when you're going to really see that traffic building, especially on the interstates at major metros.
Thanksgiving is the busiest holiday for travel, and this year roads and airports during the Thanksgiving holiday period are expected to be busier than ever. AAA predicts nearly 82 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home during the period that runs from the Tuesday before Thanksgiving to Monday, December 1st. That's 1.6 million more travelers compared to last Thanksgiving and a new record. AAA projects the majority of people will travel by car versus air flights. Florida is the most popular domestic destination because of its weather, theme parks, and cruise ports.
It's not going to be as cold of a start to your day as earlier this week, but those temperatures aren't too bad. Here's a look at what we're seeing across eastern Kentucky. Mid-50s for more of our southern counties, 55 in Harlan and Williamsburg, 56 in Monticello. Chillier as you travel more towards the north still, though. Not as cold as earlier this week. 46 right now in Louisa and Moorhead. This afternoon, though, you can expect some warmth coming back into the forecast. Normally we sit in the mid-50s, which is what we're seeing for our northern counties, but take a look towards our southern counties and you'll see mid-60s popping out in the forecast, even getting up to 69 degrees is that forecast high in Jacksboro. We're still hanging on to that fog this morning, so keep an eye out as you're beginning your day. Neely.
Megan, thank you. And thank you for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. It appears more religious people are turning to non-denominational churches. We'll take a look why that is.